Today we are going to make from scratch pumpkin pie using pumpkins that we grew out in the garden. I'm also going to make an apple pie using some of my canned apple pie filling, and I'm going to show you how I turn this into apple pie filling because right now it is just apples with some seasoning in a medium syrup. So we're going to do that, and then we are also going to make some homemade ice cream to go with our homemade apple pie. Before we jump into the video, I wanted to share with you something that I am so excited about, and that is that the doors to the Little Mountain Ranch community are officially open for the next 10 days. We only open the doors to the community a couple of times a year because the onboarding process of integrating everyone into the community can be a little bit time consuming due to the fact that I meet with each and every member one-on-one. So we have an introductory call and then just kind of getting everybody into the groove of how the community operates. So that's the reason that we do it this way. The Little Mountain Ranch community is a little bit unique, I think, when it comes to online memberships and communities. There's definitely an educational aspect of it. So if you have been wanting to grow an abundant garden, learn how to can and preserve all of that food that you grow, and then also learn how to turn that into delicious meals for your family, this is definitely the place to do that. But over and above that, there is a real sense of community. We have a really active forum within the membership, and people are posting on there every single day. And what's so wonderful about this community is because there's such a wide variety of experience and skills within the community, oftentimes people will be answering each other's questions, sharing recipes. I'm in the forum at least every day or two, responding to people's questions as well. We also have a library full of videos and PDFs that deep dive into some of the questions that members ask. If they are questions that require a little bit more explanation than I can offer in a quick post, I will create a video or a PDF to answer that question. So we have that library. But my absolute favorite part, and I think most of the community members that participate in this aspect of the community can say that this is their favorite part too, and that is that we meet multiple times per week. I hold open office hours on Monday mornings where people can jump on and just ask their questions. And then we do a deep dive call. It's usually Q&A style or on a specific topic every Friday evening. One of the other things that's awesome about these calls is we record them and we keep them in the library so you can go back and reference them, or if you missed a call, you can go back and watch that call. The calls are fantastic, and it is something I personally enjoy in the community, but the highlight of it for me is seeing people develop their skills and their confidence. We have people that have come in that never have put a seed in the ground before that grew abundant gardens this year. There's two members that I can think of, Denise and Jessica, who both went into this year with zero experience, and they both grew abundant gardens, which just thrills me to no end. And then we have people like Kim, who had never canned before about a year ago, and now she is teaching classes on canning, which just thrills me to no end. Every time someone from the community brings up something that they have learned within the community and how it's impacted their lives, it just, I don't know. There's not really any words to describe how fantastic that feeling is. We offer a free month of the community, and the reason that I do this is because I really want to make sure that this is a good fit for you, that this is a place that you want to invest your time and your money into your education, and that the type of information that I offer can be genuinely helpful for you. So you get to take full participation in everything that we have that goes on during the month, all of our calls, the one-on-one call with me, the forum, the library, all of that. You can use all the information that's in there. And if it's not a good fit for you at the end of the month, that's completely fine. But I have to admit, most people that give it a try do find that they get a lot out of it. So I hope that you do too. Now let's get into making these recipes. I'm quite excited about this because even though pie making is not my favorite thing in the world, these are going to be pies that are made with food that I grew myself here on the property, and we're going as from scratch as you can get. We're even going to be making our own evaporated milk with milk we milked from our cow this morning. So very excited to put all of this together. I'm making these in preparation for Canadian Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow. This video will come out after the fact, but Canadian Thanksgiving falls on October 13th this month, and these pies are going to be for that, the pies and the ice cream. I roasted up the sugar pumpkins this morning at 350 degrees for an hour, took all the seeds and all the stringy bits out from the inside. I'm actually going to be roasting up these seeds as well with a little bit of seasonings, and the pumpkins have now cooled and are ready to work with. But before we get into that, I need to measure out 3.5 cups of milk and get this starting to reduce down on the stove for our evaporated milk. So we're going to do 3.5 cups, and this is whole fat milk. I'm going to pop this over on the stove on medium, and we're going to let it simmer. And it needs to simmer for around 25 to 30 minutes, but you want to make sure that you're stirring it regularly so that it doesn't scorch on the bottom. Milk has a really high thermomass, meaning it absorbs heat really readily and it retains that heat, so it doesn't cool off quickly either. So do make sure that you keep an eye on it so you don't scorch it. So we're also going to get the ice cream going right now as well, because once the ice cream custard part has done its cooking, it needs to cool off before we put it into the ice cream maker. And this is my homemade rich and creamy vanilla ice cream. This is in the Little Mountain Ranch family cookbook. By the time this video comes out, we should have this store restocked with our cookbooks. I've been getting tons of emails asking when we were going to restock. We only had about a 2-week window where the store was not stocked, but it is now. So I'm happy to share that with you. I didn't have enough cream on my milk this morning. So my cows are still out on pasture, but they're not getting that thick, lush green grass that they get in the summertime. And they've also calved a few months ago now, so their level of cream in their milk isn't super high. So I do have some store-bought cream here, and I'm going to be adding 3 cups of cream into a heavy-bottomed saucepan. And 1 cup of whole milk. And we're going to add a 1/4 cup of cane sugar. You can add up to 1/2 cup, but I find that a 1/4 cup sweetens it enough. We're going to add a teaspoon or so, give or take, of vanilla. You could use a vanilla bean if you wanted. Okay, we're gonna add a little bit of salt and pop this over on the stove to heat up too. And then we are going to separate out some eggs. We need 4 egg yolks. It's so weird because normally my chickens will stop laying this time of year. Whoa! And they decided a couple of weeks ago that they were going to start laying again. So that's fantastic. Okay, now we're gonna get these whisked up. Now while our milk is simmering over there and our milk is heating up for our ice cream, we're going to put together our pie crust. So I need 2 pie crusts today. The recipe that we're using today is from All Recipes, and I'll link it for you down below. So we're going to add 2 1/3 cup of flour. I have recently taken to using my cheese grater to grate my frozen butter for making pie crusts, and it works really well. So we need 1/2 cup of butter. The nice thing about doing this is you don't really have to cut your butter in. You can just mix it in with your fingers a little bit, because it's already kind of into cut in sizes because of the cheese grater. And 3 tablespoons of cold water. We want to mix this just until it comes together. Sometimes you need a little extra water. The trick with a good pie crust is not to overwork your dough, because then it gets tough. Okay, I'm just gonna leave this to sit here while we go over and attend to our ice cream. Okay, so this is our milk that we are making our evaporated milk out of. So we want to reduce this down by just about half, and then we're waiting for it to turn a light caramel color. Now our milk over here, we're going to whisk in our eggs. And we want to do this slowly as far as adding, but quick whisking. That way we don't get chunks of cooked egg, although I usually always get some. So I do make sure to run this through a fine mesh sieve before we get it into the freezer. So we just want to have our custard just thicken up a little bit and off the heat. Turn this heat up just a little bit more for this. So now we're just going to run this through a sieve, get our little chunks of cooked egg out of there. Okay, we're gonna go pop this in the freezer. So we could put this right in the ice cream maker hot like this, and I have done that when I've been short on time, but I do tend to get little ice crystals in my ice cream when I do that, and when I cool it down in the freezer first, then I don't get those little ice crystals. Our milk is almost reduced, but now I find that it is much easier to make my crusts when I do them in single batches. I don't know why. Like I've said before, making pies is not my favorite thing to do in the world. I cannot flute the edges of a pie to save my life, so I cheat and use a fork. All right, now for our next pie. And I have a cheap pie plate for this one. This is my favorite. This is my favorite pie plate because it already has the fluted edges. Probably should have used that one for the pumpkin pie, but that's okay. I'm gonna pop this one into the fridge because I am going to do a lattice top on this apple pie, but I need to get the filling for the pumpkin pie done now. So this is a sugar pumpkin and it is so good. So we only need 2 cups of pumpkin puree for this pie. So what I'll be doing with the rest of this is just freezing it, and it will be good for future pies or whatever else I might want to make with it. I'm just gonna mash this up so it is super smooth. 3/4 cup of brown sugar, and I'm using dark brown sugar. We need 2 large eggs, and that one's a fairly good size, but these 2 are quite small. So I'm gonna add 3 instead of the 2. A pinch of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, we're just about there with our evaporated milk. Just waiting for the slight caramely color that should be happening any minute now. All right. Okay, there we go. And into our pie filling. And into our pie shell. We have a little extra. We're going to bake this for 50 to 60 minutes in a 400-degree oven. We're going to try not to spill it on the way over. Okay, I'm just going to clean up our mess here, and then we are going to do the apple pie filling and get that baking too. So I am opening up some of my home canned apples here, and like I said, they're in a light syrup, so there's already, or sorry, medium syrup, so there's already sugar in it, and I've already put seasonings in it as well. I'm going to use 2 quarts for this. And then here I have around a tablespoon or so of cornstarch with a little bit of water. And I just like to add it like this rather than just the powder in there so that I don't get any little chunks. And we're going to bring this over to the stove. And I'm just going to taste one of these. That's what I thought. I'm going to add a little bit more cinnamon to this. A little bit more cinnamony. Okay, so now I'm going to add in the cornstarch slurry. And then we'll just let that thicken up and add it into our pie crust. Time to get the lattice on the top of the pie crust, and I feel like I'm not being honest if I don't share something that was quite entertaining. So you know how I mentioned that making pie crust is not my speciality? Well, it turns out that the whole Thanksgiving meal was great. Everything tasted wonderful. The fillings of the pies were great, but the pie crusts were a little bit tough, if I'm being honest. I added a little bit of egg wash, and I added some cream to my egg wash because I just find that that makes it really nice. And then I sprinkled a little bit of sugar on the top to give it a little bit of extra sweetness to the crust, which I think was probably the only good part about this crust. The pies are all done, and I am so happy with the way this pumpkin pie turned out. It's set up beautifully. The apple pie looks lovely, and our ice cream is all done over here. And it's smooth and creamy and so good. I like to do a lot of the prep the day before. So I'm going to make up a batch of bread, which I have just started over here. And I'm going to make some homemade stuffing out of that bread, going to make up some dinner rolls and get the potatoes peeled, the sweet potatoes peeled, and the squash all cut up. And that way I can just pop them in. We usually have a fairly early Thanksgiving dinner because a lot of our company has to drive a ways to get here and to get home. So we usually have it a bit early. So I'll start early tomorrow morning, getting everything ready for our Thanksgiving dinner. We are ahead of the American Thanksgiving, which is coming up in November, I think is when you guys have your Thanksgiving. So an early happy Thanksgiving to you, and a belated happy Thanksgiving to all of my Canadian friends who enjoyed Thanksgiving last week. And a reminder that the doors to the Little Mountain Ranch community are open. You can click the link below and that will bring you over to a page that will give you all the information about what we offer in the community, and I hope to see you there. I hope you enjoyed today's video, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.